Say it's a lie. Say you are not the father of my child." Heavily pregnant, Amanda cried, her voice breaking, clutching her belly. The man she spoke to was tall, tired, and wearing a tattered brown coat. His beard was rough. His old bag hung from one shoulder like a burden. He didn't blink. He didn't bow. He only gave a small, sharp smile. "My name is Jonathan," he said calmly. "And you already know the truth." The cameras outside the gate caught the moment. A drone hummed overhead. The guards shifted, unsure. Amanda's breath hitched. Her lips trembled. She took one shaky step back. Then she whispered words that would travel across Lagos by evening. "He can't be the father of my baby." Before this day, people said Amanda could pull down the sky if she wanted. After her parents died and her ex-husband ran away with their money, she promised herself she would rise again, and she did. She became a billionaire CEO at 35, the head of Manda Group. Her cars were black and quiet. Her shoes clicked like small thunder. Her eyes were sharp. She didn't trust any man. She thought love was a trap. She believed control was safety. So when Jonathan first came to her gate months earlier, thin, dusty, his hands folded in plea, she felt nothing. He was not one of her board members. He was not a client. He was a problem to remove. "Please, madam," Jonathan had said softly, standing just inside the compound after a staff member took pity and waved him in. "Just a plate of food or a small job. I used to be a bank manager. I lost everything when a staff lied against me. I went to prison. When I came out, my wife had sold our house and car. The twins I raised were not even mine. The DNA said my best friend was their father. I am begging for a chance. Cleaner, driver, anything." Amanda listened with her water bottle in hand. She stood by her Bentley, tall and cool, like a mountain that never melts. She watched his face as if she were reading a weak story she did not respect. When he finished, she tipped the bottle and poured what was left cold water over his head. The water ran down his face and beard. He closed his eyes. He did not move. "Get out of my compound," she said. "Don't come back." Her chief of security, Nelson, clicked his fingers. Two guards stepped forward. Jonathan wiped his face with the back of his hand. He raised his head slowly. "I thought you were human," he said, voice low but steady. "But maybe you are stone. Still, remember this moment. The world is wide. Humiliation can return." Amanda's eyes flashed. "Nelson, throw him out." The gate closed. The day moved on. Amanda never looked back. But the world watched her. First came the blow Amanda did not expect. A $50 million contract fell apart at the last minute. The partners who had smiled in bright suits sent a cold email at night. Her company lost the deal by a hair. That hair felt like a knife. She told her driver to go home. She took her own keys. She put on dark glasses to hide her red eyes and drove into town alone. She stopped at a bar with neon lights and loud music. She did not like bars. She did not like crowds. But pain is a heavy thing. It pushes people into places they do not choose. She sat at a corner table, still in her expensive dress, diamond watch shining like a star no one else could touch. She drank more than she ever had in her life. When she stood to leave, the world tilted. The car park spun. Her key slipped from her hand. A man stepped from the shadow. "Careful, madam," he said. He smelled of rain and dust and clean soap, like he had washed at a public tap. He bent and picked up the key. Amanda blinked. Her lashes felt heavy. Her tongue felt thick. Who are you?" "Jonathan," he said. "From your gate." She stared at him, shame and anger wrestling inside her. He should have walked away, but he didn't. "You can't drive like this," he added gently. "Let me take you home." She tried to argue, to wave him off, to hold on to pride. But pride is a thin rope when the room is spinning. He guided her to the car, opened the door, and set her in the back seat so she could lie down. He drove through the Lagos night, past billboards and hawkers, past yellow buses and tired traffic wardens, past people with their own battles. At the mansion, the guards tensed. They recognized him. "Madam told us," one began. "Leave him," Amanda mumbled from the back seat without lifting her head. "He's helping me." Jonathan carried her up the steps because her knees refused to work. Her perfume filled the air, soft and sweet. The crystal lights in the foyer threw broken stars on the floor. Nelson followed, uncertain. Jonathan pushed the bedroom door open with his shoulder and laid her on the bed. He stepped back, hands raised, as if surrendering to a quiet room. "I will go now," he said, but Amanda's fingers caught his shirt. Her eyes were glassy. Her voice was soft and urgent. "Don't go," she whispered. "Please, stay." The house fell silent. Outside, a generator hummed. Nelson waited in the corridor, staring at the wall, then at the door, then down at his shoes. He did not know what to do that would be correct. Sometimes in life, there is no perfect rule, only choices and consequences that come later like morning. By sunrise, the car was back in its place. The gate stood still, tall and secret. Jonathan was gone, and Amanda, who always remembered everything, remembered nothing of what happened between darkness and dawn. Days turned into weeks. Work swallowed her. She skipped meetings she once loved. She slept badly. Her eyes looked tired in the morning mirror. She told herself it was stress. When her period did not come, she told herself it was hormones. When she finally went for a test, the nurse's smile was warm and clear. "Congratulations, madam. 4 months pregnant." Amanda laughed because sometimes laughter is the only way to stop a scream. Then the laughter broke, and the scream came anyway, but only inside her chest, where no one could hear it. 4 months became 5. 5 became 8. The belly grew sure and round. The world noticed. Blogs posted headlines. Billionaire CEO expecting who is the father. Cameras started to wait outside the company gate. Staff whispered in lifts. Shareholders asked careful questions with careful smiles. Amanda sat alone many nights, one hand on her belly, one hand covering her mouth. She searched her mind the way a diver searches the sea. Nothing. Only fog where a memory should be. At last, she called Nelson into the sitting room. The curtains were drawn. The AC hummed. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes held fire. "Nelson," she said, "answer me carefully. Did I bring anyone home 8 months ago?" Nelson's throat moved. He looked at her, then at the floor, then back at her. He was a loyal man, but he was also an honest man. He nodded slowly. "Yes, madam. You came in late. You were not yourself. Jonathan brought you. You told us to let him help. He carried you upstairs. He stayed in your room for a while. Then he left." Amanda's breath shook. A wave rose in her chest and crashed. In that crash, the fog broke. A picture blurry at first, then sharp returned. A hand on a shirt. A whisper in a dark room. A door closing softly. Tears rolled hot and fast. She covered her face, shoulders shaking. When she finally found her voice, it was small. "Find him," she said. "Please. Bring him." Morning broke with a soft gold light. Birds sang on the mango tree by the fence. Nelson drove out in a plain car, no siren, no noise. He asked at corners. He searched under bridges. He checked the spot near the old bar. He followed a whisper to a church shelter where men slept on thin mats and shared bread. By noon, the mansion gate opened. A guard stepped aside. Jonathan walked in, still with his tattered coat, still with his old bag, still with that steady look in his eyes, as if storms had passed through him and left him calm. Amanda came out in a rich Ankara gown, belly full and bright under the morning sunday. Her hands were shaking, her chin was high. Her heart was loud. She stopped 3 steps away from him. The guards held their breath. Even the birds seemed to listen. "Jonathan," she said, her voice tight. "Tell me it's not true. Tell me you didn't take advantage of me." Jonathan's mouth curled into that same small, sharp smile. He tilted his head, and for a moment, pain and pride and a strange tenderness crossed his face. "Or maybe," he said slowly, "you should say you held on to me because you wanted what the world refused to give you, a child. Either way, we both know why your belly is full." The words hit her like a drumbeat. Amanda's fingers spread across her stomach. Her other hand rose in protest as tears gathered again. "No," she whispered. "No, he can't be the father." Outside the wall, a reporter's camera clicked 3 times fast. A drone shifted higher for a cleaner shot. Inside the compound, Nelson took a small step forward. Unsure if he should speak or stay silent, Jonathan turned as if to leave, then paused with his hand on the gate. "I told you," he said without looking back. "Humiliation always returns. When you are ready to talk like a human being, call me. We will plan for our baby." His hand tightened on the gate. The hinges groaned. The gate began to swing, and a black SUV screeched to a stop outside. Horn blaring, doors flying open, voices shouting Amanda's name as microphones lifted like spears. The horns outside the gate were loud, impatient, and merciless. Amanda's guards tried to push the crowd back, but Lagos reporters were like ocean waves, always returning, always hunting for news. "Billionaire CEO pregnant for homeless man," one voice shouted. "Jonathan, do you accept paternity?" Another cried. "Madam Amanda, is it true he's the father?" Cameras flashed, phones lifted high. Amanda froze on the mansion steps, her hand still on her swollen belly. The whole world seemed to be staring. Her legs felt weak, but her pride forced her to stand tall. Jonathan, coat dusty, bag hanging loosely from his shoulder, did not even flinch. His lips twitched into a small smirk, as though the chaos meant nothing to him. "Tell them it's not true," Amanda whispered sharply, but her voice cracked. Jonathan's eyes met hers. Calm, tired, and unshaken. "Why lie?" he asked softly. "The truth always finds a way." And then boom, the gate shook as someone slammed it hard. Nelson, the loyal security chief, ordered the guards to seal it, but a drone flew over the fence, its red light blinking as it filmed Amanda, clutching her belly, while Jonathan stood firm in the sunlight. Within minutes, the footage spread across social media. Hashtags rose like smoke. "Amanda pregnant. Homeless father. He can't be the father." Amanda stumbled back into the mansion, breathing hard. Inside the grand living room, with golden curtains drawn tight, she dropped onto a velvet chair. Tears pooled in her eyes, but she wiped them angrily. "No," she hissed to herself. "This cannot be my story. I am Amanda, the CEO of Manda Group of Companies, billionaire, survivor. Not a fool who carries a beggar's child." But her trembling hands betrayed her words. Jonathan remained outside in the compound, surrounded by guards. He sat calmly on the pavement, back resting against the high wall. He pulled out a worn Bible from his bag, opened it, and began to read quietly. Reporters outside still screamed his name, but he did not answer. That night, Amanda could not sleep. She paced her room, her silk gown brushing against the carpet. She replayed the bar night in her head, the neon lights, the spinning room, the firm hands that caught her before she fell. Then the blank memory, the fog she had refused to face. Her pride told her to deny it, but her belly told her the truth. By 2 a.m., she pressed the intercom. "Nelson," she said, her voice small, "bring him inside." Minutes later, Jonathan stood in her sitting room. The chandeliers above them glittered. The air smelled of lavender and secrets. Amanda folded her arms tightly. Her voice shook, but her eyes locked onto him. "Why didn't you leave me that night?" she demanded. "Why didn't you just drop me and walk away?" Jonathan closed the Bible in his hands, his thumb marking a page. "Because even when you poured water on me, I still saw a broken woman under the diamonds. I couldn't let you crash and die. That's why." Amanda's chest rose and fell. His words pierced her pride. Tears slipped down, despite her trying to hold them back. "You think I wanted this?" she whispered, pressing both hands against her swollen belly. "You think I wanted the world laughing at me? You think I wanted to be the woman who couldn't remember how she got pregnant?" Jonathan stepped closer, his voice steady. "No. But maybe you needed it. Maybe God chose the foolish thing to humble the mighty." It was no hand, in the collows. The word struck her harder than any insult. She turned her face away, ashamed, trembling, angry, but deep inside, she knew he was right. Before she could respond, Nelson rushed into the room, his voice tense. "Madam, forgive me for disturbing you, but the press won't stop. They are waiting outside all night. And," he hesitated, "your board members are demanding an emergency meeting tomorrow morning. They want answers about the father of this child." Amanda's face went pale. The board, her empire, her legacy, everything she had built with fire and tears. She gripped Jonathan's arm suddenly, surprising even herself. Her nails dug into his sleeve. Her voice dropped to a whisper of desperation. "They will destroy me if they know. You must come with me tomorrow. You must stand beside me. Do you understand?" Jonathan looked down at her hand on his arm. His lips curved into a slow, unreadable smile. So now the mighty Amanda needs the homeless man she humiliated. Amanda's breath caught. Shame burned hot in her chest, but she could not deny it. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking. Yes, I need you. Jonathan leaned close, his words brushing her ear. Then you must be ready to pay the price. The room fell silent. Amanda froze. What price? But before she could ask, Nelson opened the door again. Madam, forgive me. Reporters have somehow entered the compound. They are at the window. Amanda's eyes widened. She rushed to the curtain, pulled it back. A dozen cameras caught her hand still clutching Jonathan's arm. And outside, the chant began. Billionaire and the beggar. Billionaire and the beggar. Amanda staggered back, her chest heaving. The world was collapsing. But Jonathan only smirked again, as if he had been waiting for this moment all his life. The glass doors of Manda Group's headquarters swung open, and the sound of camera shutters exploded like fireworks. Reporters swarmed the front steps, shouting Amanda's name. Her bodyguards pushed them back, but it was too late. Every angle, every second, was already live-streamed across Lagos. Inside the marble lobby, Amanda's heels echoed as she walked toward the boardroom. She wore a fitted black suit that hugged her swollen belly. Her hair tied back in a bun, her chin was high, but her heart pounded. Behind her walked Jonathan. The tattered coat was gone. Amanda had ordered Nelson to take him to a private salon that morning. Now his beard was trimmed, his hair neat, his face sharper than anyone remembered. Still, his simple shirt and trousers made him stand out among the silk ties and Italian shoes. Madam, whispered Nelson at her side. Are you sure this is wise? Amanda did not answer. She only tightened her grip on the folder in her hand. The boardroom was already on fire when she entered, not with flames, but with whispers, eyes, and suspicion. 12 men and women sat around the long glass table. Their suits gleamed, their watches sparkled. At the head of the table, the chairman of the board, Chief Adewale, cleared his throat. Amanda, he began, his voice heavy. We have always respected your brilliance. You took this company higher than any of us dreamed. But today, our investors demand answers. The media says you are carrying the child of a homeless man. Is this true? The words fell like a hammer. The board members turned their eyes on Amanda, some curious, some disgusted, some almost smiling at her downfall. Amanda swallowed. For a moment, she wanted to lie, to deny, to scream. But Jonathan's voice echoed in her memory from the night before. The truth always finds a way. She pulled the chair back, sat down, and placed her folder on the table. Before I answer, she said, her voice calm but strained, I want you all to hear from the man himself. Gasps circled the room as Jonathan stepped forward. He stood tall, his hands resting on the back of a chair. His eyes swept across the table without fear. My name is Jonathan Okoro, he began. I was once a bank manager. I lost everything to lies, prison, and betrayal. I have been homeless for years. Yes, I met Amanda. Yes, I helped her one night when she was broken. And yes, she now carries my child. A wave of murmurs broke out. One woman covered her mouth in shock. Another man shook his head, scribbling notes. Chief Adewale's face hardened. So it is true. Do you understand what this means, Amanda? Investors will run. Partners will laugh. This company could crumble. Amanda's throat burned. She wanted to cry, but instead she leaned forward, her eyes fierce. No, this company will not crumble. Not because of the truth. Manda Group was built from nothing by my hands, by my sweat, and it will not fall because the world thinks a billionaire cannot love a man without a house. Her words struck like lightning. But the storm was not over. Jonathan raised his hand slightly. May I speak? The board members exchanged doubtful looks, but curiosity won. Chief Adewale nodded reluctantly. Jonathan walked slowly around the table. His voice grew stronger with each step. You see a homeless man, but you forget skills do not vanish because a man loses his house. Wisdom does not rot because life beats him down. I was once a bank manager, trusted with billions. And I tell you this, what Amanda carries is not shame, but proof that humanity is stronger than pride. If you reject her today, you are not rejecting scandal, you are rejecting truth, and truth cannot be hidden. Silence filled the boardroom. Every eye was on him. For the first time, Amanda looked at Jonathan not as a burden, but as a weapon she never knew she had. But then there was a loud sound. The boardroom doors burst open. A young man in a designer suit stormed in, a tabloid folded in his hand. His voice shook with rage. This is a disgrace, he shouted. The shareholders want Amanda removed immediately. We cannot allow this company to be led by a woman carrying the child of a beggar. The room exploded with noise, voices clashing, papers flying, fists slamming on the table. Amanda rose to her feet, her belly heavy, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Who dares call for my removal?" The young man stepped forward, his face red with anger. "Me," he spat. "And I will fight you until this company is mine." "You're finished, Amanda." The boardroom gasped. The young man's name rippled through the whispers, Michael Adewale, son of the chairman. Amanda's fists clenched. The betrayal stung like fire. But before she could respond, Jonathan stepped between them. His eyes locked on Michael like a lion protecting its pride. "If you touch her," he said calmly, "you will regret it." The boardroom froze. Amanda's breath caught. The tension was so thick, it felt like the ceiling itself would fall. And then Michael smiled coldly and dropped the bomb. "You think you're the father? Wait until you see the DNA results." The words hung in the air like smoke after a fire. "You think you're the father? Wait until you see the DNA results." Michael's cold smile spread across the boardroom as gasps filled the space. Amanda's chest tightened. Her hands instinctively clutched her belly as though to shield the child inside. "What DNA results?" she asked, her voice sharp, trembling with both fury and fear. Michael tossed the folded tabloid onto the glass table. The headline screamed in bold, "Who is the real father?" DNA results leaked from billionaire Amanda's case. The board members erupted in a storm of whispers. Some leaned forward to read the paper, others shook their heads in disbelief. Amanda's heart pounded. She grabbed the paper, scanning the text with frantic eyes. And there it was, her name, her company, her unborn child, and beneath it, a single line that cut deeper than any knife. Preliminary results suggest paternity is uncertain. DNA points to a second possible match. Her legs wobbled. She gripped the table for support. "This is a lie," she whispered. Michael leaned forward, his smirk cruel. "Is it? Investors don't care if it's true or false. They care about stability, about reputation. And right now, your reputation is drowning. The shareholders are already preparing a vote. You'll be out by the end of the week." Amanda's lips parted, but no sound came out. For the first time in years, she felt powerless. She had fought men in suits, competitors with armies of lawyers, even her own ex-husband who left her bankrupt. But this attack came from inside her walls, at the moment when she was most vulnerable. She felt tears pushing at the edge of her eyes, but before they could fall, Jonathan's voice rose steady and firm. "Show us the source." Michael's eyes narrowed. "What?" "The results," Jonathan said. His voice carried the calm authority of someone who once commanded banks. "Who conducted the test? Where is the certified document? Or are you waving a piece of gossip, hoping the smell of smoke convinces people there's a fire?" The board members shifted uneasily. "It was a fair question," Michael sneered. "The media doesn't lie when they have documents." Jonathan stepped closer, his eyes locked on Michael's. "Media always lies when men like you feed them. If you want to destroy Amanda, do it with truth, not rumors." The tension cracked like glass under pressure. Chief Adewale, Michael's father, slammed his hand on the table. "Enough, Michael, you overstep. This is a board meeting, not a tabloid circus." But Michael didn't back down. "Father, you're blinded by loyalty. If we don't remove Amanda, the company will sink. Investors are already pulling out. Look outside, journalists have camped at our gates for 2 days. She has brought shame to us, and so Chip. It is won." Amanda finally found her voice. Her hand trembled as she pointed at him. "You talk about shame, Michael, but it's you who should be ashamed. Plotting against me while I carry life inside me. Using lies to drag down the company your father and I built brick by brick." Michael's jaw clenched, but his eyes flickered with something envy, and then Amanda understood. "This isn't about investors," she said slowly, her eyes narrowing. "This is about you wanting my seat. You want to take over Manda Group." The silence that followed was sharp as a blade. Even the air conditioner's hum seemed to pause. Michael said nothing, but his silence was louder than words. The meeting broke in chaos. Some board members sided with Amanda, others whispered about Michael's claim. Chief Adewale adjourned the session until the following week, demanding proof be brought forward. Amanda left the boardroom with Jonathan, walking behind her. Cameras flashed as soon as she stepped outside. "Madam Amanda, Is Jonathan the father? Madam Amanda, what about the leaked results? Sir, how does it feel to be tied to Nigeria's richest woman? The questions rained like arrows. Amanda lowered her head, sliding into the black SUV. Jonathan followed, his face calm but unreadable. The door shut, muting the chaos. For a moment, the car was filled only with the sound of Amanda's ragged breathing. She leaned back against the leather seat, closing her eyes. DNA results? She whispered. How could anyone get them when I never... She froze. Her eyes shot open. Nelson. The security chief turned from the front seat, startled. Yes, madam? Who had access to my medical files? She demanded. Nelson's face darkened. Only your personal assistant and your doctor. Amanda's chest tightened. Betrayal had always come from the ones closest to her. Jonathan leaned forward. His voice was low but firm. We find the leak. We prove the results are false. Only then can you stand before the board. Amanda stared at him. For the first time, she noticed something different in his eyes. Resolve, strength, even a glimmer of care. He wasn't just a man humiliated at her gate. He was a man who, despite everything, still stood beside her. Why are you helping me? She asked quietly. Jonathan's lips curved into a faint smile. Because truth doesn't belong to the rich or the poor. It belongs to anyone brave enough to hold it. Her heart stuttered. For a second, she saw not a beggar, but a man who once wore suits, signed deals, managed wealth. A man who had been broken, yet not destroyed. But before she could answer, Nelson's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his eyes widening. Madam, it's the hospital. They want to see you immediately. They said it's urgent. Amanda's hand went to her belly. A chill ran through her. The baby? No, Nelson said, hesitating. Not the baby, the doctor. The hospital's private wing was cold, its white walls too bright under the fluorescent lights. Amanda walked slowly, Jonathan beside her. Her gown swayed over her round belly, and every step echoed like thunder in her ears. The doctor, a slim woman in a white coat, stood waiting in her office. Her eyes darted nervously as Amanda entered. Doctor, Amanda said sharply, I need answers. Did you leak my test results? The doctor swallowed hard. Madam, please. I had no choice. Amanda's eyes blazed. No choice? You had no right. Tears welled in the doctor's eyes. They threatened me. Michael's people. They said if I didn't hand over the report, they would ruin me. They forced me to alter it, to suggest another man might be the father. Amanda's knees nearly buckled. Jonathan caught her arm, steadying her. So it's a lie, he said firmly. Yes, the doctor whispered. The results are clear. Jonathan is the father. There is no other. Amanda's chest heaved. Relief and terror collided inside her. She finally had the truth, but the damage outside was already spreading like wildfire. She turned to Jonathan, tears spilling over. You are the father, she said, her voice breaking. It was always you. Jonathan's face softened. For the first time, his smirk vanished, replaced by something gentler. I told you humiliation returns, but sometimes so does hope. Amanda's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust again. But then, the office door burst open. Michael strode in with two men in dark suits. His eyes gleamed with triumph. You really thought you could hide it, Amanda? He sneered. He slapped a folder on the desk. Here is the court order. Tomorrow morning, a judge will demand an official DNA test. This time, in public. Amanda gasped. Nelson stepped forward, fists clenched. The doctor covered her mouth in shock, but Jonathan didn't move. His face was calm, his voice steady as stone. Good, he said. Let the world see the truth. Michael's smile faltered for the first time. Amanda's pulse raced. Tomorrow, her entire empire, her unborn child, her future, everything would stand trial before the world. And there would be no place to hide. The morning of the court-ordered DNA test felt like Judgment Day itself. Lagos woke buzzing with the news. TV anchors repeated the headline every hour. Billionaire CEO Amanda faces DNA test. Today is the homeless man, truly the father. The courthouse steps were a storm of flashing cameras, chanting voices, and eager reporters. Crowds gathered, some to mock, some to cheer, some simply to witness history. Inside the black SUV, Amanda sat stiff, one hand pressed against her swollen belly. She wore a long white gown, simple yet elegant, her face bare of heavy makeup. But no diamonds, no silk, no title could shield her from the humiliation that weighed heavier than her child. Beside her, Jonathan sat calm in a clean navy blue kaftan Amanda had bought for him days earlier. His old bag was still by his side. It seemed to be the only possession he truly owned. His trimmed beard and neat hair made him look like a different man. But his eyes, calm, steady, unflinching, remained the same. Nelson, at the wheel, glanced in the rearview mirror. "Madam, we can still turn around." Amanda shook her head. "No. If I run today, I will never stop running." She turned to Jonathan, her voice breaking. "I'm not afraid of the truth anymore. But I'm afraid of what the world will do to us once it comes out." Jonathan placed a hand over hers. Warm, firm, unmoving. "Let the world do what it wants. We will still be standing." Her chest tightened, her eyes stung. She wanted to believe him. The courtroom was packed to the ceiling. Reporters lined the back. Judges sat stern in black robes. At the front, Michael Adewale stood tall in a grey suit, his smirk sharp, his eyes glinting with ambition. Amanda, the judge's voice echoed. "You are here today under the scrutiny of the law and the nation. A DNA test shall be conducted to determine the paternity of your unborn child. Do you consent?" Amanda rose slowly, her heart pounding. "Yes, my lord." The process was simple. A blood sample from Amanda, one from Jonathan. The baby's DNA was already recorded from prenatal care. The results would be fast-tracked, delivered within the day. As the samples were taken, whispers rippled across the room. Some sneered at Jonathan, others pitied him, a few admired his courage. When the procedure ended, the judge ordered recess until the results returned. Hours crawled like years. Amanda sat in the courthouse lounge, her hands never leaving her belly. She thought of her parents, her ex-husband, all the men she had humiliated. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. Jonathan sat across from her, reading his worn Bible. He did not look anxious. He did not even look concerned. He only looked ready. "Why are you so calm?" Amanda whispered. Jonathan closed the book. "Because truth does not shake. It waits." Amanda swallowed hard, staring at him. "And if the results are twisted again? If Michael bribes them? If the world refuses to believe even when it's clear?" Jonathan leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then let the world laugh. But you will know. And the child will know. That is enough." Amanda's breath caught. She covered her mouth, fighting the sob rising in her throat. At last, the courtroom reconvened. The clerk entered carrying a sealed envelope. He handed it to the judge, who broke the seal and read silently. The room held its breath. Finally, the judge raised his eyes. "The DNA test results confirm, with 99.9% certainty, that the father of Amanda's unborn child is..." He paused. The silence was long. Jonathan Okoro. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, flashes of cameras, cries of disbelief. Some board members buried their faces in their hands. Reporters rushed out to file stories. Amanda's knees buckled. Relief and humiliation collided in her chest. She covered her face with her hands, tears pouring freely. Michael shot to his feet, his face red with fury. "This is a setup, a trick. He bribed someone." "Silence," the judge thundered. His gavel cracked like thunder. "The results are clear. The matter is settled." Michael's chest heaved, but his words died on his tongue. Amanda turned slowly, her eyes finding Jonathan's. For the first time, she didn't see humiliation. She didn't see shame. She saw the truth, and it humbled her. Jonathan walked forward, his hand outstretched. Amanda hesitated only a second before she placed her trembling hand in his. The cameras clicked like rain on a tin roof. "Do you see now?" Jonathan said softly. Humiliation returned, but so did grace. Her tears broke into a shaky smile. "I see it." And the ever slowed. Outside the courthouse, the world raged. Some called her foolish, some mocked her. But others, women with children, men who had fallen and risen again, lifted their voices in her defense. "Even billionaires are human." She stood by him respect. "Jonathan is a symbol of second chances." By evening, the narrative had shifted. The same headlines that mocked now carried new weight. Amanda's redemption. Billionaire chooses truth over pride. From beggar to father. Jonathan's unlikely journey. 2 weeks later, Amanda called a press conference at Manda Group headquarters. She stood on the stage in a flowing emerald gown, her belly round and radiant. Jonathan stood beside her in a white agbada, his shoulders straight, his face calm. "I once believed wealth could protect me from pain," Amanda said into the microphone. "But pride only built a cage around my heart. When I humiliated Jonathan, I thought I was punishing a stranger. In truth, I was punishing myself. Today I stand before you, humbled not by scandal, but by love, forgiveness, and the gift of life I now carry." She reached for Jonathan's hand, their fingers intertwined. The cameras flashed, but Amanda didn't care anymore. For the first time in years, she felt free. The applause was slow at first, then thunderous. A week after the press conference, Amanda invited Jonathan into her mansion's living room. She wore a simple Ankara gown, her hair tied back, her eyes red from many sleepless nights. Her swollen belly made her movements slow, but her heart raced. "Jonathan," she whispered, lowering herself to her knees despite her pregnancy. The marble floor was cold, but she didn't care. She held out a small velvet box with shaking hands. Inside, a gold ring sparkled. "Forgive me," she said, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I humiliated you when you needed help. I carried pride like armor, and it broke me. Today, I am ready to do what I should have done long ago, make things right. Will you marry me?" Jonathan froze. The woman who once poured water on him now knelt before him, humbled. Slowly, he bent down, lifted her trembling hands, and smiled softly. "You are strong, Amanda," he said gently, "but let me show you the right way." He took the ring, placed it in his pocket, then knelt before her. He pulled out a small silver band he had carried for years in his old bag, a ring that once belonged to his mother. Looking into her eyes, he said, Amanda, will you be my wife? Not because of shame, not because of fear, but because two broken souls can build something whole again." Amanda burst into tears and nodded. "Yes, Jonathan, yes." They embraced as Nelson, standing by the door, covered his mouth to hide his tears. The wedding came quickly. Though many doubted, Amanda insisted it be grand, public, and unapologetic. She wanted the world to see that humility was not weakness. The cathedral in Lagos glittered with white lace and golden chandeliers. The aisles were lined with roses. Billionaires, politicians, journalists, and even ordinary Lagosians filled the pews. Amanda walked slowly down the aisle in an elegant white lace gown, her pregnancy belly visible beneath the fabric. Instead of shame, she carried pride, not in wealth, but in truth. At the altar, Jonathan stood tall in a regal white agbada with a red Igbo cap. His transformation stunned the crowd. The once homeless man now looked every inch the groom of a queen. When the priest asked Amanda if she would take Jonathan as her husband, her voice rang loud and steady, "I will." And when it was Jonathan's turn, his eyes shone as he answered, "I will. Forever." They exchanged rings, sealed the vows with a kiss, and the cathedral erupted in applause. Cameras flashed, and the story that once humiliated Amanda became the story that crowned her with grace. A month later, in a private hospital, Amanda gave birth to a healthy baby boy. She named him Williams. When Jonathan held his son for the first time, tears slid silently down his cheeks. "This," he whispered, "is the life they said I lost." Amanda lay in the bed, watching him. For the first time, she allowed herself to love without fear. Years passed. Together, Amanda and Jonathan rebuilt Manda Group into an empire stronger than before. Jonathan became the company's chief financial officer, respected for his brilliance and resilience. Investors returned, contracts flowed, and the scandal that once threatened to destroy them became the story that defined their legacy. Williams grew into a fine young man, sharp and kind, carrying both his parents' fire. At 19, he graduated with honors in data science and joined the family company. Amanda often sat at her mansion's balcony at night, watching Jonathan walk across the garden with their son, laughter echoing into the stars. She would place a hand on her heart and whisper to herself, "I lost everything once, but in losing, I found more than I ever dreamed." On the day Williams married Sonia in a grand Lagos wedding, Amanda wept openly as she walked him down the aisle beside Jonathan. Cameras captured every moment, but for Amanda, it wasn't about headlines anymore. It was about the boy she once said couldn't be his father. now grown into a man who proved otherwise. And when Williams and Sonia welcomed twin daughters years later, Juliet and Juliana, Amanda and Jonathan, stood holding their grandchildren. Tears streaming freely, life had come full circle. Humiliation had turned into grace. And the woman who once built walls of pride now lived in a house filled with laughter, forgiveness and love. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.